Hey everyone, we're here with Ariel Carpenter, and we wanted to talk about environmental policy in the city of San Jose. We're in the middle of some pretty nasty fires right now, which I'm sure many of us are aware are increasingly happening in the area because of the increased temperatures as the climate crisis we're facing. But thank you so much, Ariel. Would you mind introducing yourself for everybody?
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Again, my name is Ariel Carpenter. I worked for the city of San Jose for just about 6 years on a variety of environmental projects related to our climate action plan and energy reduction. So a lot of this is right up my alley.
So for people at home, can you explain Climate Smart San Jose and our climate action plan? Give a little historical context. It was the green vision 20 something beforehand.
I'm going to get it up and see if I can pull my copy down actually so everybody can get a picture of it.
No worries.
Just because it's here and I'm going to be opportunistic. So Climate Smart is the city's Paris compliant climate action plan. We've got it right here, my personal copy. This basically is our pathway to Paris. It lays out a multi-decade road plan for how the city can reduce our carbon footprint and our water use as well through a number of different pillars and strategies. It's highly quantitative. I can attest to what the models under the hood look like. They're pretty intense. It was preceded by the Green Vision Plan, which I believe was adopted around 10 years ago, and it had some really awesome goals, but we were looking to build out something way more robust that was a lot more data-driven and just more forward-looking. So this was our plan, and that was adopted about 2 years ago.
And what does that plan tell us to do? I mean, what are our next steps?
Yeah, it tells us a lot of things. So the plan really is divided into a couple of key buckets of initiatives. Like I mentioned, carbon footprint. So that primarily comes from the energy that we're putting into our buildings from the grid, as well as just the way we're using our buildings, as well as our transportation patterns. Transportation is actually the biggest piece of San Jose's greenhouse gas emissions profile. So that's the area we have the most work to do still. Yeah, that's pretty much the high level.
It's definitely interconnected, right? Where people live affects where they have to commute, affects their carbon footprint. So that's certainly a big piece, and we've done our best to roll that into the platform we're trying to run forward with here for the city of San Jose as well. One of the big things for me is environmental justice. And it was one of the challenges that I thought the Climate Smart San Jose plan really had as it tried to lay out what the community steps were. Do you have experienced things in that area you would want to bring up for people so that we can take what we have, our roadmap to Paris, and then do even better?
Yeah, absolutely. Equity is a really huge piece of the puzzle. I'll use climate justice and equity a little bit interchangeably, just for the purposes of our conversation. And the city is definitely trying to increase their efforts around equity for countless reasons. I think one of the largest barriers to that is just funding. So many new technologies and sexy sustainability initiatives cost a lot of money, like just from their inception. And if we want to be improving our equity and really diving into that climate justice aspect of things, we need to be able to meet the needs of members of our community that might not have those economic resources to, go buy a Tesla, things like that. So examples of programs are, looking at the secondhand EV market, trying to figure out how you can get EV charging into more multifamily housing complexes. Those are a lot of the really simpler initiatives that the city can pursue to improve their equity around environmental issues.
Yeah, we're really kind of a dual economy right now in Silicon Valley, unfortunately. Families that struggle to get by, and then people that are doing really well. You're in Austin now, but I'm sure you remember how many Teslas we have on the road.
Yes.
And so you can kind of see that those that are doing well are making some of the right choices, but as you mentioned, the upfront cost to a lot of these is what's expensive. And something I always love to bring up, and would love to hear your take on as well, and to highlight bits and pieces. The long-term cost, it's cheaper that we make many of these decisions, right? The Climate Smart San Jose plan actually has us saving money as a community.
I believe there are definitely, for each of the specific initiatives, different costs associated with them, as well as what those ROIs are. So those are buried in the plan, but there are some very interesting matrices around that.
Yeah. Well, at high level, I'm pretty sure it was like $5 billion when you bake in the ROIs, where some things have negative returns, some things are positive, but everything that we think we need to do to meet our Paris Climate Accord CO2 emission goals and to provide quality of life. I mean, I think one of the main pieces of the plan was laying out the Good Life 2.0, yes. Walkability, bikeability. But to transition a little bit, when you were at City of San Jose, what were some of your favorite things you had to work on?
Gosh, honestly, everything that I worked on there was so exciting. During that 6 years or so that I was there, the city really made leaps and bounds from adopting our climate action plan to starting our CCA. I was the lead staff on the development of our first regulation out of our climate action plan. So that was the Energy and Water Building Performance Ordinance, kind of a mouthful, but that effectively was requiring large commercial and multifamily buildings to track their energy and water use over time, and provide that data to the city so that we could make more informed decisions about things like potential future rebate or incentive programs. You can't manage what you don't measure when you're a building owner or tenant. And as the city, we don't even know how to best serve the community without that type of data. So that was a awesome thing to be a part of. I learned a lot, and it was definitely the litmus test for our climate action plan in terms of, council had adopted that plan. Were they going to be willing to create regulations out of it? Because carrots are great, but if you don't have anything behind it, it's just a plan that sits on the shelf. So that was awesome, and looking forward to seeing what comes out of council in the future.
Well, what would you like to see come out of council in the future? And on a personal note, what do you think are important next steps for us?
Gosh, so far we've done a ton of work on the city's, I'll call it the built environment, between the ordinance that I'd worked on as well as our more recently adopted REACH codes. We've done a really good job of leveraging the buildings in our city that are already there. The really big and tough nut to crack is going to be transportation, because that's so integrated with the built environment. Really figuring out how to densify the city, create more walkable spaces, improve public transportation. And that involves, trying to navigate areas that have already been developed. You can't just rip it all out and start new. But solving that is going to be such a big piece of our climate puzzle. We need to figure out how to do that, and we need to figure out how to do that equitably.
Absolutely. We're in the midst of making decisions around upzoning certain areas of the city. We're moving forward trying to make our urban villages a thing.
Yeah.
You know, we have some of those plans, a small percentage of those plans in place. And finally, places are starting to break ground. One of the challenges that I see, you know, and have seen over the last few years is that we're not building equity into those plans either. And I think one of the very first urban villages is the Bascom Urban Village, and they're breaking ground across the street from my house. It's just how I happen to know. And there's going to be no affordable housing in that complex. It's right on transit. It's right next to the Bascom Light Rail Station. You know, but it's going to be change the framework of who gets to live nearby and who gets to work nearby. As you said, it's so integrated in the way that we actually solve this problem that it's really unfortunate we aren't putting those steps in place everywhere. But those are the challenges ahead. So it makes it a challenging, exciting opportunity for us to push the city of San Jose a little further. You want to tell everybody what you're doing now and what you hope to do coming up in the future as well?
Sure. Well, I just retired from the city about 2 months ago to go back to school. I just started at the University of Texas, McCombs Business School to get my MBA, hopefully with a concentration in clean tech. I definitely don't want to leave the sustainability space. It's an exciting place to be, and it's an extremely fulfilling place to be. And we will see where that takes me.
Awesome. Well, hopefully we cross paths again. I think we ran into each other a few years ago at a birthday party for some mutual friends, and now we're hanging out here. So looking forward to running into you in person when it's safe and in the future, hopefully.
Sounds good.
Doing
Jay.
some great things in sustainability. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, likewise. Best of luck.
Thank you very much, Ariel. Have a good one.
Yeah, bye-bye.